Good evening. Welcome to the February 2nd, 2025 Sacramento Youth Commission Business Meeting. The meeting is now called to order. Will the clerk please call roll to establish a quorum?
Thank you, Chair. Members, please unmute your microphones. Commissioner Sista,
Present.
Commissioner Khatri Chetri,
Present.
Commissioner Caraveo,
Present.
Commissioner Rowland is absent, Commissioner Bernardo,
Present.
Commissioner Perez Maganoy,
Present.
Commissioner Corliss,
Present.
Commissioner Chan,
Present.
Commissioner De Leon,
Present.
Commissioner Turk is absent, Commissioner Avila,
Present.
Commissioner Wong,
Present.
Commissioner Longmire,
Present.
Commissioner Ruprai is absent, Commissioner Gounder,
Present.
Commissioner Sahota,
Present.
and Chair Rios.
Present.
Thank you. We have quorum.
I would like to remind members of the public in chambers that if you would like to speak on an agenda item, please turn in a speaker slip when the item begins. You will have 2 minutes to speak once you are called on. After the first speaker, we will no longer accept speaker slips. We will now proceed with today's agenda. Please rise for the opening acknowledgments in honor of Sacramento's indigenous people and tribal lands. To the original people of this land, the Nisenan people, the Southern Maidu, Valley and Plains Miwok, Putwin Wintun peoples, and the people of the Wilton Rancheria, Sacramento's only federally recognized tribe. May we acknowledge and honor the Native people who came before us and still walk beside us today on these ancestral lands by choosing to gather together today in the active practice of acknowledgement and appreciation for Sacramento's indigenous peoples, history, contribution, and lives. Thank you. Please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So, moving on, our first business today is the approval of the consent calendar that includes last month's meeting minutes as well as the follow-up log. Clerk, are there any members of the public who wish to speak on the consent calendar?
Thank you, Chair. I have no speaker slips for this item.
Are there any commissioners who wish to speak? Okay. So, do I have a motion and a second for the consent calendar?
I motion.
Okay, I have a motion
Second.
by Commissioner Avila and a second by Commissioner Caraveo. Will the clerk please call roll for the vote? And so for this one, we'll just do a voice vote.
Would you like to call that?
Okay, sure. So all in favor, say aye.
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 And all opposed, say nay. Okay, so looks like the motion passes.
Thank you, Chair. Yep, I saw no nays and no abstentions either.
Perfect. We will now proceed to the discussion calendar. Item number 3 is the racial equity tool update.
All right, good evening, Sacramento Youth Commission. Happy New Year to you all. I know it's February, but I still am saying Happy New Year. My name is Ami Zenzele Barnes, pronouns are she and they, and I serve as the Diversity and Equity Manager. Our Office of Diversity and Equity is in the Human Resources Department, and then I will have my colleague introduce themselves.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Larissa Wall. I'm the Strategic Workforce Equity Analyst, and it's good to see many of you again and some new faces.
So our presentation is going to be very brief, but we definitely want to engage in conversation and questions if you have it. This is hopefully a arc of our journey together in helping you all co-create and develop a racial equity lens and tool so that it can empower you in your decision making. So before I ground us in some foundational concepts to remind, because it's really important to be reminded in the equity strategy and concepts that we are engaging in and that the racial equity tool is centered on, I really do want to start off with gratitude and thanking folks. I want to thank you all for your engagement and your leadership and your energy in this process. We've been engaging with you all for quite some time, and so it's been great. We have learned so much from you all, and also previous commissioners as well. Also want to thank the staff, Dominique Herndon and Chris Wimberly, and the previous Sarah Muser for their consultation, their vision, and the capacity building efforts that they've been engaging in with this process and along the journey. I also want to thank the City Attorney's Office, Harveen Gill, for your consultation as well. It's been supportive. And I say that to say that this work involves collective effort and multiple offices in order to move this work forward. So what we mean by racial equity, it's really important to create shared understanding, and we've shared this with many of you before, but for those of you who are new, racial equity means that we center race, but it's not exclusive. We want to understand the historical legacy and impact that race has had in our institutions and in our systems and in our government structures, but we also want to understand that we want to improve success for all people. And so we center race because we understand the historical legacy behind it. And it's about closing gaps, but it's also about improving outcomes for everyone. And so to do so, we have to do two things. We have to target strategies that close gaps, that work for the needs of people and understanding data, how our care holders and community work and what they need. So we develop strategies around that. And so we really do hope that the equity tool helps you do that in innovative ways through your own lived experiences. As well as we want to move beyond services and, of course, talk, right? We want to put this into action. We want to put it into changing policies. We want to have formidable recommendations. We want to influence practices, and we want to influence procedures. Part of our mission of our office is to really look at how it's systemic change. We want to look at individual behavior, but we want to look at systemic change. We want to look at cultural shifts, what we can do for policies and practices that empower people to make those decisions, challenge, question. That's part of the culture. But we also want to make sure that there are systems change. So our policies are reinforcing individual behavior, and individual behavior is also informing policies and procedures. And then what is a racial equity tool? So imagine you're designing a program. You want it to be fair, inclusive, and effective. But here's the question: who benefits most? Also, who might be left out? Who might be left behind? This is where a racial equity tool comes in. A racial equity tool is both a process and an outcome. It is not just a checklist, but it's a structured way of thinking, an approach that helps you integrate equity into the policies, your decision-making, presentations, whatever you're deciding on, whatever you're thinking about right from the very beginning. So think of it as a lens. It's the lens in which you view things. And so this lens doesn't just look at race in isolation, even though we call it a racial equity tool, but it also looks through it as an intersectional lens. So you're looking through a prism. You're looking at race, you're looking at income, you're looking at age, you're looking at ability, you're looking at geographic, you're looking at all of these different identities, because all of these different identities and circumstances can compound how people may be excluded or not accessing a service in that particular program, right? So you're also looking at language, right? So all of these things, and knowing what is happening on the national scale, we're looking at and being very precise about how we meet the needs of all people. And this can be complex, and the equity must reflect that complexity. So it gives you a kind of, I don't want to say checklist, because I don't like to say checklist, and I don't want us to be performative, but it does help you have a way and a method of how you look at decisions, how you consider presentations, how you think about, so you can ask the right questions, so you can get insights, and so you can also be a creative partner with community and people who come and present to you all as well. So who uses the tool? Anyone that shapes decisions. Anybody, any agency, government, commissions, boards, council, nonprofits, CBOs, anybody that is making decisions that impact the lives of people, that is who uses the tool. And when should it be used? It should be used early. And that's why I really give you all a lot of kudos, but also respect and appreciation for you wanting to look at this and develop your lens early in the process so that you can influence change and bring in the process equitable strategies. So it's a reality for all people who live at the intersection of multiple identities. Think of your own selves, right? You have multiple identities, and multiple identities means that you're going to engage with systems and organizations and services in different ways. So you bring that lived experience, and then coupled with the lens is just a powerhouse of being able to make sure that what you offer as commissioners, not only when you listen to presentations, but as you make recommendations, that you are infusing equity into that strategy. All right, so I will transition over to Larissa.
Thank you. All right, so we wanted to take just a couple of minutes to talk a little bit about where we've been. As Ami said, I think we've been doing this work now since October of 2024, I think, so it's been a little while. I also want to highlight that this process has been iterative and collaborative, which I know many of you have been involved in. We've facilitated this process to center the work of all of you, right, and relied heavily on your guidance to include what would be most useful to you. So as we came and presented the iterations and drafts of the Racial Equity Toolkit, we wanted to make sure that what was included really reflects how you're thinking about things and what would be most useful to you. Prior to what we see here in 2025, we worked with staff to implement some facilitated conversations around foundational concepts that we wanted to make sure you all were equipped with on the differences between equity and equality, bridging and breaking, prior to attending the first meeting in February of 2025, when we did a presentation on what is a racial equity tool, where we really dove more deeply into what Ami just shared. And what do you want to see in this toolkit, right? We presented that. And then we came back in August with the draft of the toolkit with feedback and considerations from our office. And we went in section by section, right? And we presented that to workshop in real time with you all, which I think doesn't always happen. It was a really unique experience as well, I think, to do that in real time with all of you and to get that feedback. And then since then, we have been working on a more final draft that we are bringing to you. And for this draft, which we hope you will approve tonight, we really took into consideration also the request for a shorter version, which you can use to guide questions for presentations at meetings. So we added at the end of the tool, it's the last page, in the toolkit, we added a condensed tool, which can be found in the attachment on the staff report. So this is really intended to be a series of questions that aligned with the Racial Equity Toolkit as a whole. So there's nothing necessarily new in there. There might be some different ways of thinking about the questions, but we recognize that the toolkit in and of itself, there's a lot there, right? There's a lot of detail, which we hope if and when you do have the time to sit down with that and think about the work that you're doing, your presentations, that you can grapple with that. But we also wanted to include, hey, I have more limited time. What are the things that I can be thinking of right now as I'm thinking of the questions that I want to ask or thinking about what's being presented to me? So we wanted to include that condensed version at the end. So that's where you can find that. And again, we intend this to help you organize your thoughts and questions in real time, and really want to, again, thank the staff for helping us think through that approach and what that could look like as part of the toolkit in the best way for this body. So our recommendation that we bring to you tonight is that you approve the use of this toolkit to guide the work. We would plan to follow up with you all in six months or whatever meeting that makes sense to bring it back for any additional feedback to refine the toolkit, and we would want to work on a glossary, which I believe that we mentioned previously. And again, I really want to reiterate that this is continuing to be iterative, right? So this final version will probably change eventually, right? And we'll adapt and grow, but we hope that this version that we are presenting tonight will be a good launching off point. So I think with that, that's the end of our presentation, and we would love to open it to any questions or thoughts. and then let you all.
Thank you so much for your presentation. I've always been an extremely huge fan of the racial equity tool. It's been amazing experience to see it grow throughout since we started with the commission and partnering to make it grow to this amazing blueprint of how we can move forward as a society in a way that we address intersectionality and tune our lenses to ensure that everyone has an equal and fair chance. So I'll move on to Commissioner Caravello.
I just wanted to really thank you both for all the work that you've put into this. I'm really looking forward to this equity toolkit, not just for our current board, but for future boards. I feel like it really prepares us to look at projects and presentations that come our way through an ecological perspective, right? Thinking about how different identities interact with each other, their relationships, the quality of these relationships, the resources that come or don't come with them. So I'm really looking forward to putting this into practice and kind of embedding it into the way we make decisions as a board. So thank you to you both.
Commissioner Soda.
Hi, my name is Rit Sahoda. I'm one of the newer commissioners on this board, and I got a chance to look at the racial equity tool. I just want to say it's evident how much work that went into it. There's a lot of thought in all the questions, and even the condensed tool has a lot of the foundational aspects that are covered throughout all the different steps. So I just wanted to say I appreciate everything that you guys have done. And also, Sacramento is known for its diversity. It's kind of known as a melting pot and a mixing area of people from all different kinds of backgrounds, all different kind of intersectional identities. And so it's amazing that the Youth Commission has also taken it upon themselves to kind of look into this, support this project, and give their own feedback as well. Because, you know, youth are the face of the future. And so I think that's wonderful. I do agree that this is a wonderful kind of starting point of the end, kind of like a start of where you can publish things. And I do appreciate that you guys are still open to actually adding more, constantly improving, because, you know, as time goes on, the things in our city, in our town will change, especially looking at current events. It's kind of evident that things are already rapidly changing. And so overall, I think it's amazing that this is something that the commission and you guys have kind of taken the time to look into, put all the work into, and I'm excited to see how this project evolves in the future as well.
I just wanted to add to that this is something that I've even brought up with some of my school administrators to just widen the aspect of who can benefit from this tool. It's great that this is definitely something that I would bring before the school board as well, because to even expand it, because of how much it changes how we look at things. We all have bias into our lenses, whether we like it or not. And so really taking time to acknowledge that, but also have the willingness to improve upon that is extremely powerful, especially when you're in places like education, which change our future. So once again, thank you for the presentation. It's always great to have you guys. Okay, so now we'll do, this item is going to require a vote, so we'll need a motion and second to approve. Are there any commissioners who wish to make a motion?
I motion.
I have a
I
motion
second.
by Commissioner Sahota,
Second.
second by Commissioner De Leon. Okay, and then now we'll do another voice vote. So will everyone unmute their mics, please? Okay, and then,
You'll call it.
okay, so all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Okay, so it looks like the motion passes.
And I'll note no abstentions to the item as well.
Okay, cool.
Congratulations. You now have a new toolkit.
And for the record, there's no
and-
public comment on the item.
Okay.
Excellent, and I really do hope, you know, we do intend on following up with staff. We really do want to know how it works for you all. We want to expand this to other boards and commissions as well, the process, the capacity building aspect. But we really do hope it helps you build your cohesiveness as a commission as well, and centering not only on the decisions that are before you, but how you go about doing that, so that it clarifies and really matches the vision and the values and your own work plan as a commission as well, because we know each commission has a work plan. So we really do hope that you can see your goals in that. And if there's any consultation or anything that you all need, feel free to reach out. But thank you all.
Item number 4 is the Front Street Animal Shelter Overview. Is there a staff presentation for this? Oh, cool.
Well, hi, everyone. Thank you for having me. My name's Ryan. I am the Communications and Customer Service Manager for the Front Street Animal Shelter. I've been there for going on 11 years now. So I actually was planning on becoming a high school teacher. I graduated college, and when I was waiting for my credential program to start, I started volunteering at another shelter, and then just kind of fell in love with that work. So I took what I thought was going to be just kind of a short-term job that was sort of just a passion and a dream, and it ended up somehow becoming a career. So it's cool when that happens. And so, I'm going to talk to you, just kind of give you a general overview of the shelter, what we do, some of the different careers that kind of make up our shelter staff, and kind of how we do what we do. So our mission statement is to protect, preserve, and enhance the quality of life for both animals and people by strengthening the human-animal bond. There's a lot of human issues that intertwine with animal issues that we see, and so we've kind of gone from, at least in my time, being really focused on like just animals and life-saving and animal welfare, to then kind of getting into how can we support the owners and the people out there to reduce the number of animals coming in and help more animals get out. So within the city, we are in the community development department. We actually used to be with public safety, I believe. So a lot of animal shelters are kind of in the police sphere, but we got moved over to community development, which I think is pretty appropriate for our current mission. We have 63 budgeted full-time positions. Our budget is $8.7 million, and we're expected to bring in close to $1 million in revenue. So we are definitely an expensive department. Animals don't, if you have pets, they don't pay for themselves, right? So it's expensive work, but we do our best with it. There's some of our staff there. So kind of an overview of what we do as a shelter. We're responsible for assisting lost, abused, neglected animals in the city of Sacramento. So we're not only a shelter like an SPCA that you might see, but we're also animal control. Our annual intake is in 2025 was exceeded 10,000 animals. So that's the highest number in since before the pandemic. There's approximately 250,000 owned pets in the city limits, and animal issues are the second most common issue that people call 311 about. And so our goals are public safety, as well as life-saving, as well as community outreach. So some of our main kind of teams at the shelter, one is the veterinary team. So this team is responsible for the health of the animals at the shelter. At any given time, we have 200 to 300 animals at the shelter. So, and then we also have potentially up to over 1,000 animals in foster homes. So that's where someone takes an animal into their home and gives them a home temporarily. Typically, we get really busy there in the summer because that's when all the spring and summer, because that's when all the kittens start coming into the world. And so a lot of those come in, maybe they don't have a mom or they need some support, so we put them in foster homes while they get older. So our veterinary team is also kind of handling all those animals. So it's a really busy job. And then we do all sorts of specialty surgeries. We do leg amputations. We'll do cancer removals. We'll do eye issues. There's so many things that an animal can come in with. So we do a lot of fundraising as well to help cover those costs. Our kennel technicians, so these are the ones who are really doing kind of the basic care, the cleaning and the feeding, vaccinating, and then they're also the ones who are helping kind of match animals with their future homes. So if you come into the shelter and you want to adopt an animal, it's going to be one of our kennel technicians that helps make sure that animal's a good fit for your home and your lifestyle and any other pets you might have. They do evaluations on behavior, they do euthanasias when necessary, and then they support other areas of the shelter as well. Customer service, so this is the team that I oversee. So this team does, the kind of paperwork side of adoptions, legally transferring ownership to the new home. They also are really involved with trying to help lost pets get back to their homes. So, if you guys have pets, hopefully they have microchips. So they do a lot of work tracking down owners of microchips, especially if phone numbers aren't updated. They'll use skip tracing technology and social media stalking or whatever methods they can use to try to find the owner of that pet and get as many back to their original homes as possible. And they're also the main point for public communication. So they get about 10,000 requests for information or service through 311 each year. Our volunteer team, so, even with 63 full-time staff, we could not do what we do without volunteers. So we have about 1,000 volunteers that are considered active, and they put in close to 100,000 hours of time every single year. So that's not only in shelter doing laundry and cleaning kennels, but it's also those foster volunteers who are putting in all that time, bottle feeding kittens at 3 a.m. So, and that's just what's logged. It's actually probably quite a bit higher than that. And then we have our animal services coordinators. So these staff members kind of oversee various programs like the foster program. There's kind of a before and after of a kitten who came in really bad shape and got adopted and is doing great. And then we also have programs for off-site adoption coordination, so taking animals out to Petco, PetSmarts, and community events to help them get adopted there. Like I said, we are also animal control. So this team is called Field Services. So they are 24/7, 365 days a year, responding to all kinds of animal issues. They're pretty busy with priority calls. So those are things like, sick or injured animals that are loose, but they also, investigate bites. If there's a bite in the city, one of the original functions of animal control has been rabies control. We really only see rabies in a few species, especially bats in our area. So if you see a bat, please don't pick it up with your bare hands. It wouldn't be the first time. But rabies control is really how animal control kind of got started. And luckily, it's very rare to see it in dogs or cats, thanks to the work that these guys do. And they also respond to potential cruelty or welfare issues. If someone's not taking good care of their pet, they'll go out and investigate that. If there's a pet that gets locked in a hot car, they will go out for those calls and sometimes break them out. They will respond to illegal wildlife. I got to go on a call. I think someone got evicted, or there was some reason the police were in the home. But anyway, they had a monkey. And so we went in and took the monkey, and I think we sent it to a rescue or something. But yeah, there are all sorts of really interesting animals. We brought in a horse last week, which actually we're not really set up for horses because we almost never get them in the city. And so we have like it's not a barn, it's like it's just kind of a yard. But anyway, the horse was like pretty skilled at escaping, and it got out of the yard, and it was just wandering loose in the shelter and eating out of the dumpster. So never a dull day for field services, that's for sure. And then we focus a lot on the community. So we have free or low cost spay and neuter programs. Those are funded by a number of different sources, but the main one being licenses. So if you own a pet in the city, it's kind of like owning a car in the state. We're sort of like the DMV in that sense, except I think we're quite a bit more, well, never mind. But I think we're more fun than the DMV, let's put it that way. So license fees, you pay a license fee like you would a registration fee for your car, and part of that fee goes to spay and neuter if your pet is not already fixed. We have a pet food pantry, so this happens once a week. This is handing out food to folks who can't feed their pets. And this is, again, part of an effort to not only support the community, but prevent animals from coming into our shelter when people can't take care of them. We do a monthly microchip and vaccine clinic. So in 2025, I think we served, I think it was at least 2,000 or 3,000. I have to look at the stats, but people and their animals giving free vaccines to prevent against things like parvo. It's a really devastating illness that puppies get. Can live on the ground for years, and so we get a lot of those cases coming into us. And so we're trying to prevent them from coming into us and prevent those animals from being at risk. So we do the vaccines, then we do microchips. If you don't know, a microchip is it's about the size of a grain of rice, and it's put under the skin, usually between the shoulder blades, and it's permanent. And we use a scanner, and we can get a number from that scan and reunite them with the owner. So we have when animals are microchipped, it's so much easier to get them back home. We've even had animals that have gone missing and have come into our shelter like years later. Like maybe the dog went missing, got picked up by someone else. That person didn't know that the dog had a microchip, which is why it's important for them to also have a tag, because your neighbor doesn't have a microchip scanner. Someone may have taken that dog for a while, and then it got lost again, and then it came to us. We've had people find their dogs, or cats 3 years or more after they've gone missing because they've had that chip. And it also protects them from theft as well, if you need to prove that an animal is yours. And then we also have a program with our nonprofit that helps provide veterinary care for folks who can't afford it if it's like an emergency case. Again, that prevents surrender to the shelter and also helps people out. Veterinary care is incredibly expensive right now, as you might know if you have pets. So, and then we also have our homeless outreach and assistance program. So that's a small team that's dedicated to helping unhoused owners and their pets to thrive. So it's providing food, it's providing preventative care, flea and tick medication and vaccines, and medical care and help with getting pets into shelters and into housing, making sure they have their vaccines and spay, neuter, and everything they might need. Shelter statistics, so we have this on our website. I won't get into too much detail here, but this kind of shows like our annual intake was 10,181 animals, and then it goes over, the breakdown between how many of those are stray animals, which is the most. Confiscation would be, if an officer were to take an animal due to, either inappropriate conditions or if the owner was arrested or went to the hospital. So if you're ever curious to dig into our statistics, those are on the website. We're very active on social media. I was going to put a Facebook post here, but I realized that's probably more my generation. So put the Instagram post here. This is our top post from last year. So this had 24,000 likes. So this was basically our staff stayed overnight and slept in the kennels with the dogs for Thanksgiving, so they didn't have to spend Thanksgiving alone. And then we also made like all the dogs like a little Thanksgiving dinner. So that was a good time. And these are our links for our pages. And that is pretty much the overview of what we do. I'm happy to take any questions for anything I didn't cover.
Thank you so much for your presentation. I'll start off. Do we have any speaker slips for this item?
Thank you, Chair. We do not.
Okay. Commissioners, we'll start off with Commissioner Soto.
Hi, thank you so much for your presentation. It was wonderful hearing about the Front Street Shelter because I'm no stranger to it. I've had friends who have collaborated with it for senior projects. I myself have donated to the Front Street Shelter in the past, and so it's something that's very near and dear to my heart. I love animals, particularly I love the animals in our community because it really helps build a bond between people that would otherwise be strangers. I do have a question though. I know you mentioned how one of your guys' teams kind of deals with just miscellaneous animal calls, horses and monkeys and other animals, but are you guys also in charge of dealing with things like roadkill and finding stray animals in like other kind of situations, or is that a different department?
Yeah, we do like the dead animal pickups, for example. And then wildlife, we will assist if it is like sick or injured wildlife. But otherwise, it would be like the wildlife department, which isn't in the city. Yeah, we're not super. So normally, if we do find like sick or injured wildlife, we'll take it to like some of the local wildlife like rescues. because we're not knowledgeable about raising raccoons.
I see.
Yeah,
Yeah, I love that it's a collaborative effort. Thank you so much for taking your time out to come talk to us.
thank you.
Commissioner Sisto?
Hi, first of all, I want to say thank you so much for this presentation. I love the work that you guys do, and I'm also not so new to Front Street as I have volunteered in the past during my sophomore year, I believe. And so I was wondering, would you be able to share maybe some more insight on what a day volunteering would look like at Front Street for a youth who may be interested?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the great thing about volunteering is you can really kind of choose like what your interest is. Usually, when you sign up to volunteer, you'll kind of start with like basic like shelter 101, like kennel cleaning and basic shelter chores. That just helps you like get a lay of the shelter and understand like where everything is at and kind of the basics. So when you're a new volunteer, you might come in and clean out kennels, spray them down, disinfect them. You might run loads of laundry. You might do dishes. So that's kind of like the intro, and that's what a lot of volunteers like stick with because it's really rewarding to come in and know like, hey, these dogs have a clean space because of me, or whatnot. But a lot of volunteers kind of, here you get into like your cat people versus your dog people. So I don't know if you guys want to do a vote for that, but for the dog people, we have dog walkers that will take, dogs and give them that exercise and that enrichment, which they really need. The shelter is like, if you could design the worst possible place for a dog, it would probably be a shelter, right? They're confined, there's tons of other dogs, tons of other smells, very stressful, loud. And so, they don't get exercise when they're in their kennels. So that is like one of the main kind of pathways as a volunteer there. And then for the cats is kind of similar. You're not taking cats on a walk, although when I own a cat, I do want to like harness train them and take them hiking and stuff. I've always thought that'd be really cool. But for the most part, the cats, they're just kind of socializing them in their cage and doing the same kind of cleaning. And then for both, one of the things we're always in big need of is adoption counselors. So that would be you're meeting the public, you are asking them about their home environment, you're making good matches and finding the right animal for them. But there's really so many other types of on opportunities too. You can help with off-site events, taking animals out in the community. You can help at our community, our community events like the microchipping and all that. So really there's something for everyone's interest.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. And I had one more question. Does Front Street have any kind of therapy animal programs or services?
We don't, no. I mean, there have been times where we've taken like animals to, like senior living homes and things like that, or we've had, people, come into the shelter. I don't know, one time I courted someone asked, they had a friend who had brain cancer, and it was like her dream, like she had seen some videos online of her dream to be like basically in like a puppy bath or whatever, like basically like covered in puppies. So we kind of arranged the whole thing. We had our foster parents bring in, we had like 10 puppies, like all different like breeds and varieties, super cute. And they basically like blindfolded her and then put like earphones on so she couldn't see anything. And then she had like family and friends like fly in for this, and they kind of let her in and like put her down in like this like a kiddie pool. And then she like took off the blindfold, and she's like surrounded by like 10 of her friends and family, like each holding a puppy, and they all put the puppy in there. And yeah, there's a video on our Facebook page. It's pretty old, but yeah, we've done things like that, but no formal programs.
Wow, that's really sweet. Okay, follow-up question to that. Do you see any potential startups for therapy animal programs or services? Because I personally believe that services and programs with therapy animals at Front Street will help increase community engagement. So your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of those things that, it's not the sort of thing we'll probably get like a budgeted position for, but, I think something that's great about volunteers is, we've had volunteers come in and, have ideas like that and say, hey, I want to kind of lead that program. So, I mean, I think that would be fantastic. I think, you know, certain like organizations, I think if you, like for example, a hospital, they might have certain guidelines around does an animal have to have a certain certification, or, you know, a lot of times with shelter animals, we don't know them super well. They might come in and only be with us for a short period of time. But especially puppies and kittens, those guys are pretty, you know, usually don't cause too much trouble. So yeah, that would be awesome.
All right, Phil, thank you so much for your time again.
Commissioner Longmire or or Commissioner Longmire?
I'd also like to say great presentation. My fellow commissioners kind of asked the question I already had, but what stood out to me was the fundraising, so I'd kind of like to hear more about that, like what you guys do, like the outreach you do, or like the, what's it called? The quantity you get from it, like the profit you get from it?
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, so like our city budget covers, you know, all of our normal operations and our staffing primarily, keeping the lights on. And it covers like in-house medical care, but some of the big things that we need fundraising dollars for are specialty medical care. So let's say, you know, an animal comes in and it has like a really bad like fracture, you know, maybe it got hit by a car or something and it needs like a specialist surgeon. That's something that would be kind of considered above and beyond that we would need to use fundraising dollars for, right? If we can't do it in-house and we need to send it out. So that's a really big one. A lot of our community programs that I mentioned are also supported by fundraising dollars. We have a community program that spays or neuters community or feral cats. As you guys know, if you live in Sacramento, there's a pretty major, you know, cat, you know, outdoor cat overpopulation problem. Sometimes you'll see kittens running around. So our partnership with our nonprofit over the last several years, we've been able to get 8,000 community cats spayed and neutered. And our foster programs are almost entirely supported by donations, you know, the supplies and all the things for those. So yeah, so we rely on donors each year. It's hard to say exactly. It kind of depends. I mean, we have online fundraisers. We do 3 of those a year. We have Big Day of Giving coming up in May, and on that fundraiser, we typically make about $120,000. Giving Tuesday, we usually make, you know, between 60 and 70,000, and we do another one at the end of the summer where we normally make between 30 and 50. And then typically we'll do several events throughout the year. Like one that's been really popular that, you know, we're hoping to bring back is our Front Street Brew Fest. So that's basically like a beer tasting event, which I would invite you guys to. We got a few more years probably. But that one would typically raise, you know, could raise anywhere from 50 to 100,000. And then we just get a lot of other donations that kind of come in, as well as we were really fortunate to receive a substantial trust over the last couple years that's going into a capital campaign to try to one day build a new shelter. So we have about $1 million there. Got about 49 million to go before we can build a new shelter. Yeah, so those are just kind of some of the numbers and some of the ways we use it.
Thank you.
Commissioner Avila? Hi, first of all, thank you for coming to talk to us. And then you spoke a little bit about your volunteers, and I was just wondering, are they like to the adequate levels you guys are needing, or are you at a shortage, stuff like that?
Yeah, I think I would say that our levels are adequate for the most part. We always need more. I mean, you can't take dogs out often enough. You know, we always need more. The shelter could always be cleaner, right? To prevent illness. Like we have an illness you guys may have heard about that's at the shelter right now. So, you know, we always need more, but I would say like our volunteer team has done a great job of recruiting and training and keeping our volunteer base engaged. One that we never have enough of in the summer is kitten fosters. So if you guys want to, you know, bring home a very cute litter of kittens and take care of them for, you know, 4 to 8 weeks before they're ready for adoption, that would be an adorable summer project. So keep that in mind.
Cool. And then I have a follow-up question. What can we as a commission and commissioners, what can we do to help you and to help the shelter?
Oh man, that's a great question. now I know the offer's on the table, I have to think about it. But yeah, I mean, I would say, any project that can, increase, visibility for shelter animals, that gets the shelter's name in front of more people. You guys might be able to do like some sort of a service day. I don't know if we've ever done that with a commission before. I know we've done it with local businesses. People come in for a day and help with, cleaning or bagging up food for the food pantry. You guys could put together some sort of fundraiser, either for like tangible, like physical objects like towels and food, or you could do like a monetary fundraiser as well. So, or you could all foster litter kittens also. Would be great. Yeah, a few ideas there.
Thank you.
Commissioner Corliss or Maganoy?
Hi, so my family recently adopted a dog from Front Street, and I've seen Front Street. I know it existed for quite a while, but never actually gone inside until recently. And then I saw a very structured program, very big and just informative. And I wanted to say how much I appreciate that being in the city. That I see a lot of pets that need to have like a home, or a temporary home at least. And I think the shelter does a great job of doing that. And Commissioner Avila kind of went off what I wanted to say, which is how can the commission help you exactly? Whereas if it's like a partnership with the commission, maybe, again, like you said, a fundraiser for a specific cause, or something of the similar. And also, I was curious about you mentioned making another shelter, and I was wondering what are the specific steps to get there at that point where you would have the funds to be even thinking of creating another shelter in the city?
Yeah. Well, as far as the steps, we started in 2024. We had a organization come in and basically do a shelter needs assessment for us, which is what is our current capacity, what is the projected growth of the city, what is our capacity going to be in the future, how big does this facility need to be, how many dog kennels, how many cat kennels, what public sort of areas and amenities would be helpful. So we had a really comprehensive study done, and we also looked at could we, because we've been at this site since 1910, so I've been there a long time. I'm trying to think, this is always like kind of I think in the 60s or 70s is when our current dog kennels were built, for example. Obviously the city's grown a lot since then. And when the cities grow, more people come in, more people have pets, right? So, so we're definitely undersized. We have 99 dog kennels right now. We usually have between 150 to 200 dogs. Ideally, every dog would have its own kennel for disease transmission reasons and such, and stress. So most dogs are double kenneled. If they're small dogs, there might even be 3 to 5 dogs in a kennel. So we're definitely needing a new space. We've had that assessment done. We looked at could we build onto our existing space? They looked at all the options. Could we go multi-story, or we're kind of, if you guys have ever been there, it's we're right under the 3 bridges. You got I-5 and you got 50, and so yeah, we literally live under a bridge. I guess that was so that it's already loud, so you put a bunch of barking dogs there. It wouldn't be as controversial with the neighbors. We've also sort of looked at, basically the determination was we need a new site. We need a new site that has more acreage, more space. When the zoo was talking about moving to Elk Grove, we were like, oh, maybe we could move into the zoo space, They're not moving anymore. So that's kind of where it's at. But I mean, really the big thing is funding. The estimate was, between $30 and $50 million to build a new shelter, and money's pretty tight in the city now. So we've looked. The next steps would be looking at funding options, so that would be the next steps. And then we're also looking at intermediary steps. So part of that assessment was determining what are some interim improvements we could do to address some safety issues and some efficiency issues. So we are looking at making potentially about a $500,000 investment to make our current shelter better until we can get the full funding. And one of the things that we would be really excited to do is create sort of an off-site spay, neuter, and kind of basic medical care facility, because that's really where we're limited. Is our medical facility is really small, and staff, veterinarians, and registered vet technicians are kind of walking all over each other, and we have so many animals that need to get fixed and need to get treated that we really need more space there. So we may be looking at creating some sort of an off-site clinic to not only help shelter animals, but also to provide, again, those services that are so needed in the community.
Thank you. That was really informative, and thank you for responding.
Yeah.
Commissioner Soda.
Hi, I know I already did a comment earlier, but listening to Commissioner Sista, it kind of popped in my mind again. It may just be on me. I need to check the website of Friend Street again. However, I noticed that your guys' Doggy Day Out program didn't have any available dates when I looked in January. So are you guys still doing that? How does that process work actually? Because I am interested in it and I would love to participate.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. That's something I should have touched on. Our Doggy Day Out program, for those who don't know, essentially it's, instead of going through all the training to become like a dog walker, a dog handler, you can basically check a dog out for the day, sort of like a library book. And actually we have a day program, and now we actually have like an overnight program, so you can do like a sleepover. And then we also have a very new program is Jog a Dog. So if any of you are runners, we basically pair you with a high energy dog, and you can go take them for a run, which is great, because then they come back and they're all like quiet and relaxed when people come in to adopt, and not literally bouncing off the walls, which is kind of doesn't really attract adopters as well as like a nice, well-behaved, calm dog. But yeah, so that program, essentially, you fill out some paperwork, you take a dog out, you take them to parks, you can take them for a pup cup at Starbucks or whatever, and but it's very popular, hence the difficulty getting appointments. So it's definitely a lot of work to kind of get these dogs organized, and each person comes in it's like a 2-hour block, so we can only fit so many people into that block with dogs to get them kind of processed and out. So yeah, definitely one of those things we'd love to be able to expand. We are currently working on developing an app that we're hoping will increase efficiency for that program. So we actually won some funding from Petco Love, which is the nonprofit arm of Petco, and some other organizations. We pitched this idea years ago, and won some funding to develop this, not only for our shelters, but for other shelters who want to implement this program. And so we've had a really hard time finding the developer that could do it for our budget. We finally have, and so we're moving forward with that this year. So hopefully by this time next year, we'll have that, and maybe that will allow us to open up more appointments. But yeah, you really just got to be vigilant with checking the site so you can get your slot.
I see. Thank you so much. And then also, I do want to say your guys' volunteer kind of training process that is mainly online is really kind of straightforward and really helpful. So whoever works on that, tell them that they're doing a great job. I found it really nice and easy and simple to understand.
Great. I'll pass that on.
Commissioner Sista or Qatar.
Hi, thank you so much for your presentation. I feel like that is really great that you're out here to advocate for our local animals, and I feel like maybe all of us can agree on this, but like when we were young, when I've always been young, I've just always wanted a dog, because my grandparents had a dog, my uncle raised a dog, so then whenever they would go, just abroad back to my home country, or when my uncle moved to Texas, I used to be the main dog sitter for my grandparents' dog, right? And I feel like that dogs are, I feel like they're really amazing. They not only provide mental, but as well as some type of physical support to humans as well. But I feel like that sometimes it's overlooked by people that dogs also require a lot of special needs, right? They have their own needs. I feel like a lot of people stereotype the responsibilities and how to take care of a dog, all of the, stuff that comes with it. So my question was that, do you guys have any type of educational program right now implemented, or maybe in works to kind of educate or give a rundown to new parents, who might be adopting your dog, or maybe stuff also related with kids, because kids are always, I feel like the ones that are always pushing their parents to just, get a pet. So is there any types of stuff that right now that's in the works or anything implemented yet?
Well, we don't have any like formal programs or like education. It's a good idea though. I mean, I think something on our website or something like a kind of a primer for a new pet, especially you mentioned kid issues. I mean, that's huge, especially when it comes to animal safety. Sometimes we see things that, you'll see photos online, like kids like riding a dog around the house and, yeah, I think that's a good idea. The way we do it is really more one-on-one. So the kennel technicians, when they come in, or the volunteers, when they're doing adoption counseling, is they'll talk to people about, what are your expectations? What is your experience level? And it might be that a particular, dog or cat is not the right fit for that person, right? If they're, if they've never owned a dog before and they're getting like a super hyper like Belgian Malinois who's, known to be an escape artist and they don't have the right, yard for it, so it really is pretty individual. And so, our goal is to, make as successful of adoption placements as possible. We obviously want to get animals out the door and make space, but we also want to give people a great pet that they can have for, the rest of the animal's life. So, yeah, I would say those are the things. And then another thing would be puppies. Everyone thinks they want a puppy. So we kind of help inform people about like what it is actually like to have a puppy, and that, yeah, they're super cute, but the potty training experience can be quite a nightmare. The screaming all night if they're left alone, because they miss their siblings they were just separated from. So puppies are one of those ones that we really like. We're like, are you sure? We can't steer you towards this, 3-year-old dog that's like, probably a lot better fit for your lifestyle. Things like that. So we'll have those types of conversations.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And I have one more question. How have you guys just like seen growth in general in Sacramento when it comes to like, pet adoption as well as just, when it comes to just local animals?
How much growth have we seen?
Yeah, like from when you guys have started, like, has there been just, like let's say like over the past 10 years or 5 years, has there been like an area where you guys are like struggling, but like you guys have started to improve on?
I mean, I would say in general, so like when I started at the shelter 11 years ago, we had a lot of programs in place that were really helpful. So like, at one point, like this whole thing of like, fostering and, all these volunteer programs and all this like outreach and marketing and all that stuff was just not existent in a lot of shelters. It was very much like shelters were just a place for animals to come in, and then, best of luck to them. And, back in, even 15 years ago, like our live release rate for, the shelter's live release rate for dogs was something like, it was like in the 30s, 30 percentile, like 30% of dogs that were coming to the shelter were leaving alive. Now, of course, as a shelter, an open shelter, you're always going to get, animals who, we get the dogs who are really aggressive, who are not safe. You get dogs who come in who are super sick that, they can't be treated, or they've been hit by a car and it can't be, it's so severe that it can't be fixed. So you get, those animals, of course, but, over the course of time, that is something that's definitely increased. I think last month, well, now it's February. I don't know what last. I know December, I think our live release rate for dogs was 86%. So big growth there, and that really coincides with kind of all of the things, all the improvements. But I think, adoption, like what you mentioned, is like people really have an awareness. I think maybe it started with the Sarah McLachlan commercials. But people really have this awareness that, hey, like there's these animals that are really in need. And so adoption, I think, has become like, the cool way to get a pet, where it's like you say it with pride, oh yeah, my dog's a rescue or whatever. So I think that shift, that mindset shift in the community has been probably one of the biggest ones that people, tend to think, well, could we adopt, our pet instead? And then I think shelters have done a good job of like, like we're really active on, we've got, 210,000 Facebook followers, we've got, 50 5,000 Instagram followers. So we, we've really tried to show those dogs in a positive light, because people also, might have negative stereotypes about a shelter dog, like, oh, why is the dog in a shelter? There must be something wrong with it. And it's like, no, they're normal dogs who just found their way there through whatever circumstance, and they just need a second chance at life. And so I think that mindset shift in the community of like, hey, these dogs not only need help, but these dogs and cats are, fantastic animals. Let me go to the shelter before I go to, a breeder or something like that. So, yeah.
Great. Thank you so much.
Commissioner Bernardo?
Yes, hello. Thank you for sharing your presentation. Like a lot of the other commissioners here, I'm also familiar with the Front Street Shelter. Last summer, my sister and I actually fostered 2 kittens that we helped raise and also rehome. So it was like a really just like rewarding like experience that we had. Just being able to like raise those kittens and like see like the important like steps of it and like the processes, and yeah, just being able to like rehome them, especially knowing like how full our shelters can get, especially over like the summer and spring seasons, as you mentioned. But I did notice when I like let my peers know about fostering, like they didn't really like know much about it, or that like that was something available to them if they wanted to pursue. So I was wondering if there were any like current steps that the shelter has taken to youth outreach and yeah, specifically trying to get youth to volunteer or possibly foster these kittens.
Yeah, I mean, we have, our main strategy is, social media, TV, news media. We have some pretty major email lists as well. We have tried to do like some community events that are like foster focused, like, hey, come and learn about fostering, and we'll kind of tell you all about it. But we didn't really have very many people show up. So, I mean, usually the best way is like when we need fosters, that's when, there's like a situation. That's usually when the media is interested. That's usually when we do these posts that say, hey, like, we're totally out of kitten fosters. We really need the community's help. And we've had really, really good luck with recruiting foster parents in that way. But, it's interesting. Like, I think for like youth, like, I think it would actually be a pretty cool idea to maybe go to schools and say, and talk about fostering, and that, it's needed, because, I feel like youth are, both really passionate and, excited about animals, and they're also really good at nagging their parents. So if we could get like, I don't know, 100 young people to go home and say, hey, can we foster kittens? Here's this pamphlet. They cover all the medical care and the food and the supplies. Like literally all we have to do is provide the home and the love. I think that's a really good outreach idea. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think possibly reaching out to schools, maybe having some tabling events would be a great possible step to just reaching out with youth more and like educating them more on like opportunities that they could have with the shelter to just help out their communities and also like gain volunteer experience themselves. And I also did have another question, which was, are there any like specific programs or nonprofits that you'd recommend youth like engage with? Because I do remember you mentioning like there being homeless outreach assistants in like your community service. So if like youth wanted to possibly help out with that as well, yeah, were there any organizations that you'd recommend we share out?
I don't know if any of our, like the organizations that kind of work on homelessness have like youth specific volunteer programs. The shelter has one where you can volunteer once you're 16 for just general shelter stuff. And I think like if someone did express an interest in, I mean, there's definitely things that you could do, but as far as like going out with the team and doing like in-field stuff, I think if a volunteer, kind of expressed interest and kind of gained the trust of the team, that might be an option. But like, again, we do all sorts of like events that, related to helping unhoused owners that someone could definitely get involved in, for sure.
Thank you so much.
Okay, yeah, so I think that's it for Commissioner comments. Thank you for answering all these questions. I know you had a lot of questions, but I'll wrap it up really quick with one more question, really quick. But I was just wondering if your veterinary team or the Front Street Shelter in general would be interested to having youth youth, like, are those in high school who could shadow veterinarians, those who are interested in, like, veterinary in general?
Yeah, I think that would probably be fine. I mean, the veterinarians, you know, sometimes they're working on some pretty graphic stuff in there, so I think it depends. Yeah, you know, we really haven't. I can't even think of anyone who's come in and done like shadowing as far as like our professions, but I think we'd probably just have to do like a 1-day volunteer agreement or something like that. Yeah, I think it would be doable.
Okay,
And
yeah, that's perfect.
I mean, that's something like, you know, I think the biggest thing, you know, for young people is that, you know, they'll have like an idea of what a career is like oh, I love animals, so therefore I want to be a veterinarian. But like the actual career itself, like the process, the day-to-day can be, like you got to love the process, not just like the result or the idea. So I think, you know, for anyone considering a career, like if you're going to invest 4 to 6 years in college, like invest 4 to 6 days or however much you can in like actually trying to get a grasp on what is this job like? Is it a natural fit with my, you know, personality and my like aptitudes, and like did I feel lit up by this experience? Did I feel kind of bored, you know, like so if anyone's interested in animal sheltering, then yeah, I would definitely, especially being a vet, which requires a ton of school and a ton of most likely student debt, definitely do that shadowing and make sure it's what you want to do before you get into it.
Oh, perfect. Thank you so much for all your work at Front Street. As like the owner of a foster chihuahua from there, it's like your guys' work is like absolutely great, and so I appreciate everything. Your presentation was great. So yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you guys. Appreciate it.
This item is receive and discuss. So no vote was required. We'll move on to the next item. Item number 5 is the 2026 Youth Resource and Employment Fair.
Good evening, commissioners and staff. My name is Chris Wimberly. I'm the Recreation Superintendent that supports you all within the Youth Commission, but also our Summer at City Hall program, along with our Youth Workforce Development programming, which includes, and I know some of you have been part of those programs, Primetime Teen, Young Leaders of Tomorrow, Junior Recade, and our Landscape and Learning program, along with a program that we collaborate with Sacramento Housing and Redevelopment Agency out in the North Natomas community. It is a youth workforce development program that is for 8 specific apartment complexes that are out in that area. So tonight I'm here to talk to you in regards to the 2026 Youth Resource and Employment Fair. How many of you were there last year? Because I see familiar faces. So this year, we are going to be here again at New City Hall on Saturday, March 7th. We are going to be opening the doors at 9 a.m., but we have a little bit of a change. Last year, we had over 800 people register for this one-day event. We had pre-registration and on-site registration. This year, we are only doing on-site registration. So registration will be a simple, we're hoping young people will be coming, having their phone. If they don't have their phone, we will have Chromebooks available for them to register for the day of the event. You must register on site to get into this space. We will have over 40 vendors again here that are going to be highlighting seasonal employment opportunities, career opportunities, along with financial literacy, along with higher education. We have the armed services. We have a variety of CBOs and nonprofits that attend. So we try to make sure it's not just about employment, but it's maybe about resources, because not everybody, at the age they come in, it's for 13 to 24 years of age. That is our focus area. Not everybody can get a work permit at 13. Because actually you can't get a work permit at 13, but that doesn't mean you can't be part of some programs that are available through the city. So I am going to be playing a video, and I'm not sure how to do that. Start that on this. This one? Oh. So some of you may have recognized some faces in there. Some of you may have been in some of those photos, or you may have had friends, colleagues, or peers in attendance. I'm excited this year coming up because we are bringing back support from you as youth commissioners, along with our Summer at City Hall peer mentors. We're actually going to be leaning on you all to assist at a little bit different level. You're not just going to be tabling. We're actually going to be asking you to be coming, and you may be volunteering to help our vendors offload their stuff, get it to their table so they can park their vehicles. You may be an elevator operator. As you're aware, well, maybe you aren't aware, on the weekends, you cannot go up onto the second floor without a badge that gives you access to the second floor. So we need elevator operators. We also are going to be asking you, if you're interested, we have a fashion gallery. How many of you were able to make it onto the second floor last year? You saw the mannequin that was in that slide. We have a fashion gallery. We really try to showcase and highlight what does it look like. Maybe you need to see what it looks like to be business casual. What do you wear to go to an interview? I don't think you would wear the same thing if you were going to the beach or going to the lake or something like that. You're not going to wear your cutoff shorts going into an interview to try to get a job. So we're really trying to showcase those things and have this fashion gallery that gives you some ideas of what it looks like. We also are going to have professional headshots. Some of you had headshots taken last year, and they were actually part of the display as we were highlighting it so people would go up onto the second floor. Having those professional headshots and utilizing them on your LinkedIn account, maybe on your emails, or I know we have Teams and we have, you're able to upload a picture in there, and maybe that's the headshot that you use. So we're really looking at you all being integrated into this event at a much more robust level instead of just tabling. Of course, there will be tabling. We always need that because we want to make sure young people are learning more about what you all do as youth commissioners, because information being shared to your peers is much more powerful than myself or Dominique telling young people, you know, what do the commissioners do? They want to hear it from you. So we really are excited to have you back into the mix of things along with our peer mentors. So that's really kind of a highlight of where we're going with this year's event. Again, it is Saturday, March 7th. We will be here out into the lobby area, and we look forward to seeing you all. We are working on a final flyer. As of right now, we just have the save the date flyer. I will make sure, I'll ask Dominique to send that out to all of you, because just like you were talking about, what can you do as youth commissioners to share the information? I hope you all are on our social media for YPSI. I know you all have your own social media for the Sacramento Youth Commission. And the more times that you're sharing those resources out with your network, the better. So we're asking you to be the word of mouth and spread the information. So I'm here to answer any questions that you may have for this year's event. Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation so much. Clerk, are there any members of the public who wish to speak on this item?
Thank you, Chair. I have none.
Commissioner Sohoda.
Hi, thank you so much for taking time and presenting this all to us. I'm one of the newer commissioners, so I haven't attended this on kind of the inside sort of perspective. However, I have heard a lot of good things about this event. I know last year was kind of, I want to say exponential in the amount of people that showed up, and so I hope this year, as a commission, we're able to help run things more smoothly. However, I do have a question. As for the flyer, is there any sort of message that you want to send with the imagery? I know nowadays there's a lot of kind of like suggestions or kind of implications using certain colors, using certain imageries, using AI to kind of create graphics as well. What's your guys' approach as far as that goes? And then also, how are you guys wanting us as the commission? I know you mentioned social media, but is there anything else that you'd like us to do to spread the word? Is there anything that you kind of have been considering on whether or not you should pursue regarding spreading the word about this event further than it already has spread?
So we work with our PIO, our Public Information Officer, as it relates to the larger network of media and such. We will start that campaign probably in the next week or two, and we rely upon our PIO, that's what their acronym is, to spread that information. We also utilize you all as the network to share the information. We use our graphics team to create our flyers. So we are making sure that we are providing them. You'll see on the final flyer that comes out that will have flyers or photos from the events. So we're making sure we're making them fresh and clean and not just relying upon what we think, because that's not my expertise. I'm going to be relying upon our experts that we have within our city, within our department, and within the citywide social media and outreach through our PIO. For the AI stuff, that's not my thing. So that's why we do have a team of staff that all have their own assigned areas. Dominique is actually part of our logistics. She's doing logistics and our special events for like the equipment. So everybody has a little area that they're focusing on. So we have a planning team that is meeting weekly to discuss the event and making sure everything is on top of it. But if you have suggestions, please filter them through to Dominique and she can share them with the planning team.
Thank you so much.
Commissioner Caraveo.
I just wanted to say I really like that you guys will be providing headshots and also business attire. I currently work at American River College, so I see students all the time who struggle with getting access to resources like business clothing, even learning how to be prepared for interviews, figuring out what to wear, what not to wear. I often find myself ending up giving students advice on these things. So I just wanted to say I'm really looking forward to it and also participating.
And when we talk about the Fashion Gallery, that is something we also integrate into our stipend-based programming, the curriculum. They talk about Dress for Success. They have those conversations on how should you be coming prepared for an interview. Landscape and learning, the young people that come, we want to make sure that they're aware of what it looks like. So when we have young people that are returning youth aides that want to get rehired, we do have those conversations. You need to stand out. You've been here before. We need to make sure that you are showing what you've learned, because it's a learning environment that we want young people. It's not just we give you all the tools. You have to also utilize the tools.
Commissioner Kasari.
My bad. Yeah, thank you. I definitely say that I'm looking forward for this fair. Last year I couldn't come, but I was so excited that I was like, yes. And I definitely I'm in favor of the fashion gallery. I feel like it's something really unique. I still remember my first time when I was applying for landscaping. I wanted the job so bad. I wore a whole suit and tie because, I was able to do some research. I was like, don't wear anything like informal, right? And then, it was really great because I was able to get the position. But I talked with my with the person that interviewed me as well as other folks, and they were like, yeah, you definitely stood out just the way that you just dressed. It really makes you stand out like from the whole crowd. And definitely the headshot, I'm definitely in support of it. I definitely need one myself. But my question is there anything like some kind of, maybe some kind of station where kids can do some type of like mock interview, or just, get a feel of like, how does it feel to like really do an interview, right? Just like maybe like a 90-second or like a minute or 20, right? Just some questions that a person can just ask them and see how they respond and just kind of give them feedback.
Mm-hmm. I would love to be able to incorporate that into the event. Unfortunately, in a 2.5-hour time frame, and with the volume of people, if anybody was there last year, when you have hundreds of people in the space in which we utilize and we have to monitor the in and outs, we just don't have the capacity to do that in the 2.5 hours. We did used to have this event till 2 o'clock, and we did have workshops, and we did have tips and techniques on interview skills. But we've had to reduce down the length of the event due to those that are coming for the event, our nonprofits, our city staff. We've had to be creative at making sure that we are not causing undue stress on some of our CBOs, nonprofits, and even our city staff. and watching budgets. So we've really made sure that we are being very intentional with what we do and what we provide. Would I love to have something like that? Yes. But I also know that there's opportunities within stipend-based programming that we offer. Primetime Teen, that is a component of that program as the requirement to complete a mock interview. So we do have some things like that within our programs integrated into those.
Thank you.
Commissioner Soto.
Hi, just one last question. I know you mentioned you had, I think 36, 37, maybe 40 vendors coming to this event. Do you plan on like publishing a list prior to of who's going to be there? Is there anyone new that you're particularly looking forward to? And then also, do you have any sort of like partnership? I'm kind of new, so I'm not too sure if you maybe discussed this in the past, but are there any partnerships with like high schools or like young people organizations? Like I know there are some like international clubs that are at local schools. Are you doing anything in that kind of sense or?
So what we do is we have priority registration. So any vendor that had participated the prior year, not just registered, but actually showed up the day of the event, gets priority registration. Today was actually the last day for our priority registration to take place. And we will be sending out, the lead on our vendors will be sending out a notification to resource contacts that we go to also job fairs and collect information from those job fairs, or we table it schools, local schools, and we get those information, that information, and what will now go out is a secondary email out to those contacts. And it's first come, first serve. This is a free event. There is no cost to the vendor to come in. So that's not always the norm. So it's a pretty high demand to get into this event. And we do have school resources that we share it with. And so if there are resources, like you have clubs at your schools, that may be something we can look at. But we also know that we serve so many different school districts that if it becomes very focused on what's offered, you know, at one school, then that takes away from a broader representation of our vendors. Not to say we couldn't do it, but maybe that's something we look at differently and maybe have a different event. Maybe that's something that the Youth Commission can take and you can look at doing something like that as a Youth Commission and highlighting the resources that are at your schools.
I see. Thank you so much for taking the time to explain that.
Commissioner Guizzardi.
Yeah, I just want to take a moment just to thank you as well as all of our admins for just organizing something like this. I would definitely say that I've just always been an advocate for just stuff related with youth within the city of Sacramento. I can definitely vouch for myself that if I had never done Primetime Teen, I would have never ended up on this dais. I would definitely say that, you know, I've moved a lot in my life. I've went to Woodland, Davis, I went up to Oregon, but in not any of those places I've ever seen just a city so dedicated to their youth and just providing so much stuff to make sure that, you know, that they're ready for adult life, you know, that they're ready for all the challenges that they're gonna face when it comes to, you know, for their professional workforce career. So thank you so much for that. And I can also vouch for myself as well as just people I have seen that I've worked with, like in landscaping and Primetime Teen. Like when I see them in the beginning, like I saw how they act, but like over time, as the program just progressed, I definitely saw like a change in their attitude as well as just their behaviors, right? They were a lot more professional. They were just a lot more brighter. So I would just like to say like, thank you so much for this. And if it wasn't for those programs, I would have like never, ever like have found so many good opportunities.
No, and I appreciate the thanks on that part of it, but that is the uniqueness of the work in which we do. We're adult and youth care holders. This isn't about us. What we do is a passion, and we do it because it's the right thing to do. Young people, not everybody has an advocate in their corner. We know that not everybody is going home, and maybe there's young people that aren't going to a home. So a lot of what we look at and what we value is youth voice and youth choice. And that's kind of the premise of why we do the work in which we do, and we are passionate about it. We are integrating within the operations that I manage the youth development, the principles of youth development: safety, relationship building, youth participation, community involvement, and skill building. Without those 5 components of the supports and opportunities, it's very difficult. If you don't have a safe space to be in, it's very difficult to go to the next step of relationship building. It's kind of like a tiered cake. You got a foundation, safety being the foundation. Agreements, you all have agreements. When you start talking about these things, they start building upon each other. You feel in a safe space. You start strengthening the relationships that you have with not just the adults, but also your peers. The space is safe. You can confide. You can share things that you may not want to share if you don't know the people that are in that space with you. We also encourage, once you have a relationship building, youth participation. What you all are doing right now, being a commission member, is youth participation. You're actively voicing your concerns, not just for yourself, but for your communities. We also want you to have community involvement, giving back, pay it forward. With my kids, when they were younger, they went to events with me. They went to meetings, they were seen, they knew what was going on, and it has paid off dividends as they've grown because they see the value in themselves. And then the 5th one is skill building. Your capacity building workshops. There's skills that are developed during those things. Communication, leadership. It may be something so simple that you never realize that all of a sudden that epiphany happened and you go, oh, that's it. So we want to make sure that we as the adults are making sure there's that space that allows you to be able to make mistakes. Because what's the worst thing? You make a mistake, you learn from it. We're not here, this is a judgment-free zone. We're not here to judge you. We're here to guide and help and support. So I love the work in which I do, and I'm glad, Commissioner, that you have taken advantage of these programs. Many of you have. And I encourage you to encourage your peers. We're out there, we want young people to be able to participate and communicate. My hope is we can get back to having members of the public in our audience, engaging in conversation with you all.
Thank you for that. It was really beautifully said. I really appreciate how you hit on those 5 key components. They really are the reason why we're all here today. I believe a lot of us did participate in city programs before joining the Youth Commission, so it really did build up who we are as people and who we are as leaders for the youth community. Employment is huge in our generation, and I think it's like twice as more powerful to have youth be able to connect it to organizations that they can grow within. Sometimes it's not just about getting a job to earn money, but getting a job to do what you love and to target that passion, because I guess I could see a lot of emptiness in life if you're just doing a job for money, rather if you're doing it for the actual passion you have. So I love how the Youth Resource and Employment Fair really connects those together to ensure that we have a youth community who are being compensated for their work, but that are also working towards their passion. So thank you for that. I think that is it. This item is received and discussed, so no vote is required. We'll move on to the next item, but once again, thank you for your presentation.
Sorry, to add to your question, so we're here a month earlier than usual. Last year we came in the month of March and we were kicking off and just advising. So we came a month earlier. Unfortunately, I don't have a list, but yes, you will have a list. And we will be coming back and announcing at the next commission meeting who the vendors are and such. We just don't have that right at this moment.
And I had one recommendation to have maybe some council members here if they could, to have a meet and greet with your council member. Especially it's important to connect youth to those who represent them, especially if we're here as well. We have their youth representative, but also their council member representative. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
So this item is received and discussed, so no vote was required. We'll move on to the next item. Item number 6 is the selection of chair and vice chair for calendar year 2026. Is there a staff present? Well, I think.
Thank you, Chair. So there's no formal staff presentation on this item. All the information is detailed in your staff report, but I will remind commissioners of a few things. Members may nominate another member or themselves for the chair or vice chair positions. Typically, we hear nominations for the chair first and then do nominations and a vote for vice chair. And a member may serve as chairperson or vice chairperson for no more than 2 calendar years. So of the current roster, every member on this dais is eligible for either chair or vice chair. And then the newly elected chairperson and vice chairperson will start their terms at the next regular meeting, so the March meeting. And so, yes, I'm here with any questions, for any questions that you may have.
Commissioner Soda.
Hi, yeah, I'm sort of new to this whole commission process. However, I was able to speak with some of the other commissioners prior to the meeting starting. I was wondering, so when it comes to the nomination process, whether you're nominating someone else or yourself, do you give like a brief statement? Is it simply like, I want to nominate blank, or how does that process work? Is there sort of kind of like eligibility kind of thing? Someone gives reasons A, B, and C why they would be a good person in this position? Or is it purely like, if you feel like it, you can, given the fact that you're on this commission board?
It's really choice of the member making the nomination, whether it be themselves or another member nominating another member, whether they want to give any reasoning behind it. Typically, if there are 2 people vying for the chair position, each one will kind of give just, a breakdown of why they want to be chair, why they think they would be best for that position. But it's not a requirement for the item to do that.
I see, thank you.
Commissioner Caraveo.
Yes, I actually moved to nominate myself as chair. I know I haven't had the chance to speak with many of you individually, although some of you I have, and it's been great. I just would like to tell you all I have a lot of experience in leadership, putting projects and plans to action. I really hope that some of you have had the opportunity to see me in those instances, whether it be when we talk in capacity training building meetings. I'm very passionate about this commission, and I hope that if you all give me the opportunity, I can help get us some plans on the ground and hopefully have us be more present in our communities. I would really love to see more action as far as getting more of us to be engaged with youth, whether that be at our schools, in our neighborhoods, and our neighborhood association meetings, for those of you who have gotten the chance to meet that side of your community. I feel like I have a lot of qualities that could help us improve the quality of our work. Thank you.
Commissioner Soda.
I just have one more question. So when it comes to someone nominating themselves, are the other commissioners allowed to ask that commissioner a question, or is it like we speak to the chair and then the chair allows like permission? How does that process work when it comes to figuring out whether we would support this candidate? Not saying like any sort of personal thing, this is just general kind of moving forward. How do I kind of like process this?
Yeah, so you could obviously, request to speak, and in that, if someone had nominated themselves and you had, follow-up questions for them regarding their qualifications or something like that, you may ask that commissioner those questions.
Oh, okay. So can I go ahead and do that right now, or do I state?
Certainly.
Okay, perfect. Hi, Commissioner Caraveo. I'm Amrit Sahoda. I'm Commissioner for underneath the Mayor's office, and I do understand that you have such wonderful passions. However, my main concern is that how do you think that this coming year you'll be able to, I guess, dedicate time strictly to the commission, or dedicate an adequate amount of time to get all these plans and ambitions that you have for the board and for your vision this year? Is there a sort of kind of like gap in your schedule that allows for you to dedicate an adequate amount of time, or what's the process that you have behind this kind of sentiment?
So a major component actually of my free time is public service, as everything under the sun, from supporting my own council member in his initiatives, along with some others. I've actually volunteered for quite a few other council members in other districts. So most of my initiatives are not even necessarily district specific. I offer all kinds of support Sacramento citywide. It's a huge component of my free time. I mean, I spent my Thanksgiving Day this past year giving out 175 free meals. So question is not really, the question is never really time for me. It's more about support and having other people who want to be just as present and committed to putting these plans to action, right? Because it's not just about one person having the time or capability. It's about being able to bring the team together so we can collectively take action.
I
So,
see.
yeah, it's not about my time. It's how much time do you all have?
I see. Thank you. And then also, could you provide your opinion on some kind of like, on the current events going on in Sacramento? I don't know if you're aware, but this past weekend, there were a lot of sort of protests. A lot of schools had walkouts. What's your opinion on all of this? And then also, I know this commission has opinions about the Vote 16 movement. I'd love to hear what you think about that as well, whether you're in support, whether you're in opposition, where you stand on that, and then anything else that you think is important for this upcoming year as far as your opinion as you would be the chair.
Yeah, well, I'd just like to say I 100% support Vote 16. And as far as the walkouts go, it actually gave me a lot of joy to see so many students taking part in collective action. In the past, it's not been my experience to see as many youth to be engaged and involved and willing to be there. So it was really nice to actually see and even get to be a part of it with my community. I fully support the walkouts. I actually was near the Capitol as well that day, so it was really great to see everyone in action, and not even just on the walkout day. I actually got a chance to protest on MLK Day as well, and doing a kind of a walk around our neighborhood. So it was really nice to also connect with youth at that event as well. I fully support youth and encourage them to project their voice and let their concerns and opinions be heard, and the walkout was the perfect way to do that for this case in this pressing matter.
Thank you for voicing your strong opinions or strong form of support for the Vote 16 movement. However, I'd like to hear more about like your concrete reasons for why you believe that this should be implemented here in the city of Sacramento.
Yeah, no, I think youth have to be more entitled and also brought more into the bigger conversations that happen without us. I feel like most of the time youth aren't as prioritized as they should be when it comes to bigger conversations that concern us, our rights, our opinions. And I think that the Vote 16 would help get youth to projectile their voices and opinions. I mean, I'm actually surprised that this hasn't happened sooner. I think it's a great way for youth to do what we're doing right now, be civically engaged and participating. I actually was a past participant of the Summer at City Hall, and the emphasis on youth civic engagement could not have been more. It was almost understated. I actually got the chance to do a presentation on it for our city council, and through that, I got to interview youth about being civically engaged. And it was so sad to hear that many of them didn't know what it meant, they didn't know what it looked like, and many of them didn't even know that being civically engaged was something that youth had all the power in the world to do. So something like the Vote 16 is very much a tool that youth can use to actively participate and be a part of the bigger discussions that are going on, especially in this day and age and this political climate.
I see. Thank you. I guess the next point I would pose is if you've been hearing that youth don't really understand what it means to be civically engaged, or they're still in that kind of questioning phase, why do you think that there should be a sort of push for youth to have this kind of like opportunity? Not saying that they shouldn't. I'm just wondering, is there kind of like other reason besides, oh, I want youth to be civically engaged? Because if the true goal was to have them civically engaged, I'm speaking from from a perspective of concern mainly, because youth have been targeted from both sides. I feel like they've been very intensely, not necessarily thrown into, but it's kind of like a mutual kind of thing. Like a lot of adults in the world tell youth what they should believe and what they shouldn't believe. And so my concern is, how do you think that if Vote 16 should pass, how would you as chair kind of like be able to look over or be able to speak about how like information is being passed on to youth? Because 16 is a very young age. I'm speaking from my personal perspective now. When I was 16, I graduated high school. I started college. I got my first big kid office job. I was doing all these things at 16, but looking back, I don't know if I was in the right mental headspace, if I was educated enough to have that kind of opportunity to vote. And I understand that there is kind of like, youth want to be civically engaged. I'm so for that. I am so encouraging of that. I myself was a youth ballot collector when I was 16. It's just, I'm unsure of if the Vote 16 movement is something that is a really big part of this commission as well. I wanted to know more about that, just because I am new, and then also because you want to be chair next year.
So if I'm understanding you correctly, you want to know more about why I think youth should be civically engaged.
No, that is not what I'm asking. I'm asking, why do you think the Vote 16 movement is the right way to get youth engaged? Because there are a plethora of other ways that youth can be civically engaged. They can come to council meetings, they can submit public comments, they can protest, and they can make movements like that as well. But why do you think the Vote 16 movement, because you said you were 100% for it, why do you think that's the best form of action?
I just would like to say that although Vote 16 is one initiative that can potentially help youth to be more civically engaged, I do not think that it's the only method or modality that youth should be utilizing to get engaged with their community. I think a lot of the initiatives that you also listed are great, so it's not more so that I think this is solely the only thing that will help propel youth to be more civically engaged, but I think it's meant to work as a tool to help them do that. So it's not the act of voting itself necessarily is where I feel like that's an avenue for engagement. But think about it, in the ballots maybe that you've seen or that you've heard being proposed, before you make a decision like that, do you kind of stop and think to yourself, well, why should I be agreeing or not agreeing with this? I think this Vote 16 would actually help educate a lot of youth to even understand how our political processes work. That's why I think it'd be a great tool, because it can actually be used to educate youth on everything that you said you were concerned about.
I see. Thank you so much for fielding so many questions from me. I'm purely looking at this from an objective perspective and also from a learning perspective. I'm trying to learn more about you as a person and where you stand on these kind of issues, because it is very important. And I appreciate you taking the time to kind of thoughtfully think out whatever you were going to say. And I do apologize if anything came across as brash. I am just a little bit, I guess, single-minded, and I really want to get to the space of information when it comes to
I
these
thoroughly enjoyed your questions. They should be asked.
Thank you.
Commissioner Avila.
At this moment, I'd like to nominate our current chair, Reyes Rios, for chair. I'd like to add that coming to the commission, I've watched as our chair has really displayed a calming sense of leadership, and not only speaks for his beliefs, but also participates in them and his action in the community. And I've come to really admire him as a leader, and I believe that he is one of a good candidate, but I believe is the best candidate for chair in the foreseeable future.
Commissioner Bernardo.
First of all, I'd just like to say that I really appreciate like all the effort and passion that all of my fellow commissioners display, especially with Commissioner Caravello. I really admire how like active you are in our communities, how just like the effort and passion that you speak with every time you share your experiences and your plans for the commission. I'd really like to see where that goes, but I would also like to nominate our chair, Rios. Outside of school, I've seen him lead in like all sorts of places whenever we're volunteering in our district or just in school in general. I think like just being able to like work together with him both in those different environments such as like here in the commission or at school or just in our community, like his leadership just really shows, and it's consistently shown like throughout the years as we work together.
Vice Chair Longmire.
I'd just like to agree with my fellow commissioners that nominated our current chair, Chair Rios. As chairperson, they kind of already said what I was going to state already. I've seen how you worked, how we worked together, being like inviting you to the events with my council member. You're very supportive of the community and youth in general, and your excitement as chair is all like just rubs off to like the other youth that are like listening to you. And I did previously state that I was going to run for vice chair, but I would like to withdraw, and I would like to nominate Commissioner Caraveo for vice chair.
So I was just informed by the clerk that we're a little bit short on time. Commissioner Soto, if you had any questions, I'd be like, love to answer any. Did you want to move forward with the vote?
That is up to you. If there's other questions in the queue, you may go to those. Or we do have a motion by Member Avila and a second by Member Bernardo nominating you, Chair Rios, as chair for calendar year 2026. I'm assuming you accept the nomination?
I do.
So if you'd like, you can call the vote, or if there's more questions, you can go to those.
I'll call the vote for now.
All right. So I will do a roll call vote on this item. One moment. Thank you for your patience. Members, please unmute your microphones. Member Sista?
And this is for the chair position.
This is just for the chair position, yes, for the nomination for current Chair Rios to serve for another year for calendar year 2026.
Nay.
Member Khatri Chetri?
Nay.
Member Caraveo?
Nay.
Member Rowland is absent. Member Bernardo?
Wait, this is for nominating Reyes, or sorry,
Correct.
Commissioner or Chair Reyes. Aye.
Commissioner Perez Maganoy?
Aye.
Commissioner Corliss?
Aye.
Commissioner Chan?
Aye.
Commissioner De Leon?
Aye.
Commissioner Turk is absent. Commissioner Avila?
Aye.
Commissioner Wong?
Aye.
Vice Chair Longmire?
Aye.
Commissioner Ruprai is absent. Commissioner Gounder?
Aye.
Commissioner Sahota?
Am I allowed to abstain? I feel like I don't know enough of you as like personally, but professionally, you know, I feel like I'm not in a position to where I can say aye or nay.
You may abstain.
Okay, I abstain.
And Chair Rios?
Aye.
Thank you. The motion passes with 10 yes votes and three nay votes and 1 abstention. So Chair Rios will serve another year as chair of the commission.
I did want to give a couple comments before. Thank you everyone for your support. If any questions you have after, I'd love to answer them. I'm really focused on creating the commission as a united front. I put my work and time and effort to where my mouth is. So especially with the Vote 16 initiative, I've attended every meeting, the California Coalition meeting, really moving forward on that, bringing it to school boards. This upcoming couple of weeks, I'm presenting it to a couple of parental boards as well as local boards of education. So really bringing this and moving it forward. Another thing, just what you hit on earlier about youth having the need to vote, big part on cognitive, cognitive capacity, which is the same as an 18-year-old. But also that they face homelessness. We've seen there are thousands of youth homelessness in Sacramento. So they face adult issues that some of us can't even explain. Some adults haven't even witnessed it themselves, and youth have to struggle with these. Also, it secures youth funding, which is an extremely important part of it. Our city has been in a deficit these past couple of years, and the first thing that they cut is youth funding. And so that is just a temporary bandage on the deficit, but later down the line, it affects how youth, members in youth substance abuse, youth homelessness, youth development 0 to 5. So they're healthy development that we need to secure. So the same way that we are allowed to vote in the first place to have checks and balances for those that we elect into power, youth need the same to ensure that they have funding to give them a successful life.
Thank you, Chair. So we do have a nomination by current Vice Chair Longmire nominating Member Carveo for vice chair for calendar year 2026. Member Carveo, do you accept that nomination?
Yes.
Excellent. So is there a second on that nomination?
I'll second that nomination.
All right, I have a second by Chair Rios. I will also do a roll call vote on this item. Members, please make sure your microphones are unmuted. Member Sista?
Yay.
Member Khatri Chetri?
Yay.
Member Carveo?
Yay.
Member Roland is absent. Member Bernardo?
Aye.
Member Perez Maganoy?
Aye.
Member Corliss?
Aye.
Member Chan?
Aye.
Member De Leon?
Yay.
Member Turk is absent. Member Avila?
Aye.
Member Wong?
Aye.
Vice Chair Longmire?
Aye.
Member Ruprai is absent. Member Gounder?
Aye.
Member Sahota?
I'd like to take an abstain.
Abstention from Member Sahota. And Chair Rios?
Aye.
Thank you. The motion passes unanimously with one abstention.
Congratulations. Would you like to make any comments, Vice Chair Carabeo?
I actually first would like to thank previous Vice Chair Longmire. Thank you. And also, I'm really looking forward to working with you more, Chair Rios.
I think, let's see. Yeah. So the next item is member comments, ideas, questions, and meeting conference report. Are there any commissioners who wish to speak?
So before we do that, I know typically we kind of go roundtable for everybody. The time is 7:23, and this will likely go past the 2-hour mark. So would you like to do a vote to extend the meeting?
Could we?
Just go and see how it goes until we hit about 2 minutes before?
Yeah.
All right, excellent. So Member Sista?
Aye. Oh.
Oh, so this is the
Oh.
member comments portion.
Oops, sorry, guys. Oh, wait, sorry, could you repeat what this is for again?
The member comments question, if you'd like to introduce the item.
Yeah, so like this is just like when we like kind of talk about like recent
Oh,
updates.
okay.
I don't know if anybody wanted to like unmute and say like if they wanted to extend the meeting to keep talking about, if they had any questions for me, or if they were ready to conclude the meeting. It's up to you guys. If you guys just want to go run through your member comments, ideas, or if you just want to pass on it, that's completely up to you.
Okay, I don't really have any new comments to make. I recently just started my second semester of college, so that's going. Hopefully in the next 2 weeks, I can start picking up volunteer shifts at the hospital, and I definitely want to get more involved with volunteering as well. I'm hoping to also eventually get into some medical research over the summer and hopefully some shadowing as well. So I definitely do have a lot of future plans to get more involved in the community, but that's about it for me.
And then any other members who'd like to speak on commissioner comments, ideas, and questions, if you could go ahead and queue up in the system here, and then, yeah, those who don't have anything to say, yeah, you don't have to queue up. So our next speaker is Commissioner Sahota.
Hi, everyone. I feel like you've all heard a lot from me this meeting. However, I do want to run through a couple of quick things. One, ARC's Club and Events Board is having 2 events, one on the 4th, one on the 10th. The one on the 4th is a general kind of club day. We've had 2 of these, I think, last semester. And then the one on the 10th is a Love Your Community event. So we will potentially be working with the horticultural department, and then we're also having clubs bring out activities, games, and other sort of things so that the community connect with them on a more kind of like casual level. And then I attended a District 1 Lisa Kaplan event, I think either in December or early January, and I was able to connect to the Women and Girls Youth Commissioner, I think Yating Campbell, and she introduced me to the youth commissioner on their board, and she's also a commissioner on the county's board as well, so the county's youth commission, and I'm looking forward to meeting with her, I think in February on the 13th. We're still confirming what date, but I'm looking forward to that. And then also, I was able to reach out to the Arts Board's youth commissioner. She prefers Roma, but her name is Rosa, and she's really nice. We're also planning a meeting soon, just so that we can introduce each other, and I'd love to hear more from her. And then also, on top of that, Sac Library had their teen takeover January 24th, if anyone was able to attend. It was a really fun event. And then I think that's about it. I'm looking forward to getting my focus area assigned, and I'm looking forward to working with all of you guys. I know on the dais I'm here professionally, but personally I'm also here for all of you guys as well. Instagram, phone number. I reached out to commissioners already. I want to hang out with all you guys and get to know you on a personal level, along with a professional level this year, just because I am new. And so that's about it for officer reports. Thank you.
Commissioner Avila, or Commissioner Carabeo?
No, it was Commissioner Avila.
Oh, okay.
First of all, congratulations to the both of you. Recently, just, oh my God, lost my train of thought. But recently I acquired an internship at the Capitol with La Mesa Verde Group, which is a lobbyist group for immigration rights. And with that, I was able to get that connection through CLYOP, which is the Chicano Youth Leadership Project here at Sac State. It's for juniors and sophomores and juniors, and it's catered towards the Chicano youth, but it's open to everybody. So I really encourage it. Encourage you all to apply and attend if you're eligible, or encourage people you may know that are eligible. And if you have any questions about that, please reach out to me. And then personally, just getting ready to launch my campaign for student body vice president, so Melody. And then, yeah, that's basically it. Thank you.
Few things. One, I am looking forward to potentially bringing a project up to the commission soon. Without saying too much, this project will require help from every single one of you guys. If we're all in agreement, when I do decide to present this at one of our upcoming meetings, I'm hoping this will be a great chance for all of us to get to know each other. And I don't want to say too much, but I'll probably be connecting with some of you individually, along with Dominique. In addition to that, we actually have an organization called United Latinos, and in the wake of everything going on in our political climate, they are actually hosting a coalition meeting at Sac State on February 28th. If this is something anyone is interested in, please let me know. It will be in the evening, and actually Councilmember Guerra will be sponsoring the event. So this might be something that all of you can potentially participate in, or just show up to learn more if that's kind of more of your groove. And other than that, yeah, I'm really excited with the potential upcoming project.
Commissioner Sista.
Hi, I just want to say thank you all. It was definitely my first meeting. I was definitely nervous at first, like my heart was beating, like, just to make sure that I wouldn't mess up or anything. But I would just like to first and foremost thank all you guys on this commission. I feel like that all of us here come together on the same goal of just advocating for the youth of Sacramento. And I'm really happy that now I'm in a position where I am connected with other youths that have the same motive as me, and I look forward to having a really successful just a time with you guys. And Commissioner Terex, actually have heard about the yes, I was actually searching up just things to do for the summer, right? And then I actually found one of that, and I made an account, so I'll definitely get in touch with you just to see, just get some information.
Yeah, for sure, please.
For sure, all right. Thank you so much, guys.
Yep. Okay, yeah, so I think this concludes our meeting. Yeah, the last item is public comments, matters not on the agenda. Clerk, do we have any members who speak on?
We have none.
Okay, so this concludes today's agenda. Thank you everyone for your participation. Again, if you have any questions for me, please come up to me after the meeting. Yep.